Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first module of Graduate School Selection and Portfolio Assignment. In this PowerPoint, or in this section, this module, we're basically talking about, going through the process, breaking it down step by step of how to select graduate school, and also talk about the portfolio assignments, which is one of the big assignments that you will have in this class. So, why pursue a graduate school degree? Why go beyond just a bachelor's degree? Why go into the master's or doctoral degree? Other than just fulfilling one of one of your things as a McNair scholar. Basically, your earning potentials, go higher, and of course, your unemployment rate decreases. The more higher educated you are, just beyond the bachelor's degree. You see here in this chart here, you see the master's degree, unemployment rate in 2003 was about 3.4%. For a doctoral degree, it's 2.2%. You can see the earnings. You get a little more higher earnings, right, with the doctoral degree. Professional degree, is the MD and the JD, for doctors and attorneys and other things. So why graduate school? Graduate school is one of those things why should I pursue a PhD? Why should I pursue a master's? And one of the things about graduate school is that it's not just about going to class and taking notes and then taking an exam or a quiz or writing an essay and that's it, right? Just like maybe some of your undergraduate classes were. Graduate school is more okay. Now it's more critical thinking. More professors want to know more about what you know about the subject and get your interpretation of the subject, not what others are thinking. You're learning newer and more enhanced material. You're breaking down the material. You're not just quickly reading something or passage. You're actually breaking down the material, right? And you're creating knowledge. When you're in that doctoral phase, right, you're actually creating something, right? Because when you get your PhD, right, you may be one of the very few specialists in a specific field or a knowledge of field, right? So graduate school is taking it a step further, a level higher than just a bachelor's degree. You're actually also making an impact in people's lives. Go back into when you were an undergrad. Look right now, you're an undergrad, you're reading all these articles or these books and people have PhDs. Like maybe that could be you one day, actually writing books or articles that actually impact people's lives or do research that impact people's lives, right? Also, you love school, you love the field, you love the knowledge, you love reading, you love writing, right? Because that's going to be a lot in graduate school. And also think of why else do you want to go to graduate school? Is it to enhance your career? Is it to obtain a position higher in higher education, right? Ask yourself, why do you want to go to graduate school, right? And some of the things to know, right, about graduate school and to prepare yourself for your graduate school application, right? Make sure you build your resume, your CV, right? Make sure you start building that, start polishing it up. You can come into the office and we would gladly help you, right? Participate in relevant organizations, right? If there is a club or organization on campus that relates to your field, go join it. Get to see what's going on with it, right? Pursue awards. Go out there and pursue awards that you can enhance your resume and CV with it, right? Visit the schools. There are many local universities around here, around Northeastern, that you can go visit. Just maybe a bus ride or a train ride or a short drive away. You got the University of Illinois Chicago campus. You got the Paul. You've got other various campuses here in the Chicagoland area. Maybe other campuses. Maybe it's an hour or two drive away. That's probably not that far. Go and check those schools out. Set up an appointment. See the school. One of the important things is the important reason why to visit the school is because you want to see if it's an environment that fits you. You don't want to go to a school that you're not going to feel comfortable with. The last thing you want to do is actually go to a school and you just don't like the atmosphere, right? You just don't like it, and it's not going to be good if you're going to be there for 2 years or 5 years. You want to make sure that you like the school. That's why it's very important to actually go visit the school. If the school's out of state, right? Maybe it's, in Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Texas, California, New York, wherever it may be, Florida. See if the school there would pay for you to go visit, right? If they are willing to, that should be really good signs that this school is really interested in you coming to their school, right? So talk with the school there to see if they can pay for your travels to go visit them, right? Build relationships with your professors too. Prepare, one of the things in graduate schools is one of the high things, especially to do in graduate school, to kind of build your knowledge in the field, but also to, get some money, is being a teaching assistant, also known as TA, or research assistant, known as RA. Being a TA or an RA, requires a lot more focused, being very professional. You're not a student. You're not looked at as just a student anymore. You're actually looked as a professional. So start preparing for being a T or an RA. Start building a little more professional emphasis. Start getting a little more professional clothing. You just can't show up to class. If you're a TA, you can't just show up to class in sweatpants. Take all the prerequisite classes. Make sure you maintain a pretty good GPA, a pretty high GPA. And also talk with your family about graduate school. Going to graduate school is a big, big step. Especially if you're going full-time, which, it's highly recommended that you all go full-time to graduate school. You're going to have to talk to your family, whether it's your immediate family, whether it's your husband and wife, or wherever it may be, to see that graduate school is an important step and that everyone's fully on board. You need people, your family, to be on board with you when you go to graduate school, because it is going to consume a lot of your life, right? Graduate school is going to consume a lot of your life. It's going to be beyond the 40 hours that you may have spent a week as an undergrad, full-time undergrad student. It's going to be a lot more than that. Especially at the doctoral level, you're looking at probably spending maybe 5 to 6 years in this doctoral program. That is, it's not a short time. It's a pretty long time. If 5 years is a pretty long time, especially if it's out of state. So make sure you talk with your family about graduate school, right? And start the graduate school application process as quickly as possible. So looking here at the graduate school application process checklist, we're going to see A through H basically is taking you through all the steps that is highly recommended and of when you're applying to graduate school, all the way from identifying all the way to when you apply for financial aid. So the first step, right, is identifying which programs that you want to apply for. It is highly recommended that you at least pick and look into 12 graduate schools of which you want to apply for. One of the reasons why as to such a high number of graduate schools is because with the competitive nature of graduate school programs, especially at the PhD levels, you may not get into the programs that you want to. The last thing you want is only look at 3 programs and not get accepted to any of them, right? That's why you have to look at 12 programs, especially schools that you can easily get into, schools that are kind of competitive and highly competitive, and your dream schools. So make sure that you have at least 12 graduate schools that you want to apply for. Create a timeline for this when you need to meet the requirements. And a lot of schools, some of them have admissions applications that need to be turned in by as early as November, some even December. So make sure that you have everything set forth and ready to go, such as your personal statements, your letters of recommendation, your GRE scores ready to go out. So make sure you create that timeline. And make sure that you know all of the admission requirements. Some may only require 2 letters of recommendation. Some may require 4. Some may require not just a personal statement, but also portfolio or an essay or something. So make sure that you have all the admission requirements written down for each of the programs, right? Now, the GRE is by far probably one of the most important steps also in the application process. Make sure that you take the GRE way more in advance than when the admissions application is due. The last thing you want to do is take the GRE 1 week before the admission application is due, right? So take it with advance. Make sure you meet with a GRE instructor to work on your readiness and practice, and also do a practice test, right? When you take the GRE, if you don't get a score that you want, make sure that you register again, and make sure you improve on the weak areas that you didn't do so hot, right? Also, ask your letters if you don't do so well with the GRE, right? Because you're probably not a good standardized test taker. Don't stress out so much about it. Remember, you can retake it. And also make sure if you do retake it, work on the areas you need to improve on. And also ask your people who do letters of recommendation for you to address this issue, saying that telling the admissions council to the admissions committee to look beyond just your standardized score. They tell them to emphasize and what else are you capable of doing and how you are a great candidate for the program. Uh, Make sure that you have a CV, right? Create a draft of a CV. If you need an example, the office can gladly provide you one with an example of a CV. And of course, you need to get feedback from the McNair staff, right? Because you need to make those versions. The last thing you want, right, is, let's say, for example, one of the graduate programs requires you to turn in a CV. The last thing you want is for them to see all the misspellings on your CV. Then it may not be such good, positive feedback or positive notion towards your admissions in that program if they see all the misspellings, right? Make sure you do those suggested revisions. When you do your personal statement, right, think about your field of study. What career academic goals do you want to achieve, right? Of course, we have examples of personal statements that we can provide you with, right? Make sure in the personal statement you are answering the questions that it may be asked for you from the admissions there at the program, right? Some programs may have specific questions of what they want to see in the personal statement. Make sure that you answer those questions, right? And make sure you also emphasize what areas of interest do you want to focus on, and possibly also the professors that are interested you. Some programs, right, they may see a great quality candidate, but because your research interests don't fit that program's needs, or because there's just not a professor there in that school that can meet your needs, they may not accept you. So make sure you have to highly emphasize what is your interest and what are some of the professors you want to possibly work with, right? Make sure that you write a draft of the personal statement and you get feedback. It may be 3, 4, even 5 drafts of your personal statement that you need to work on. It is very, very important, right, that you work on your personal statement more than just once. Keep working on it. Make sure that it is very clear, thorough, and free of misspellings. Now, you can tweak the personal statement a little bit for every different graduate program, but some graduate programs, like I said, may have a different emphasis of what they want to see in their personal statement. That's why it's important to set that timeline to make sure that you have everything completed. Now, letters of recommendations. When you go ask for a letter of recommendations, make sure you ask clearly. Make sure you ask the person way in advance. Don't wait until the night before your admission application is due and ask for a letter of recommendation. Make sure and also that the person who's doing the letter of recommendation for you knows you very thoroughly and knows your capabilities. The last thing you want is to ask a professor who barely knows your name to write a letter of recommendation for you, right? And also go talk to them in person, set up an appointment, talk with them in person, have a CV or resume ready so they can look at what you've accomplished, because they may need that to kind of emphasize of what you've accomplished. And of course, give all the necessary forms to your professors. Some schools, when you're applying for graduate school, have a specific letter that they want the person writing the letter of recommendation to have with them, to send it with the letter of recommendation. Some programs are even going online. So now you don't even have to give them anything. Now you're just gonna put their email address where it's asked, and then the school sends them an email saying to write a letter of recommendation for you. If that is the case, give a heads up to the person who's writing the letter of recommendation for you, telling that to check their email for a message from the school that they have to send in a letter of recommendation via online. Now, if a professor, says, you know what, I can't write your letter of recommendation, don't take it into offense, right? It may be the case because that professor just probably doesn't know you enough to write a really good letter of recommendation, right? So don't take offense if someone says no, right? Like I said, give all the necessary information. Make sure that I'll provide all the information that they may ask. And also follow up with the professor, like maybe after you give them the information, maybe follow up 2 or 3 weeks later saying, hey, professor, did you send in the letter of recommendation? Make sure you thank them, give them a thank you card, because letters of recommendation, to write them is not an easy thing. And a lot of these professors are really extremely busy. For them to take the time to write your letter of recommendation speaks high volumes. So make sure you thank them, right? Also, make sure, ask the procedure for sending in official transcripts. Ask the programs that you're applying for, what is the procedure for sending in official transcripts. You may need to send them to the graduate school and also university. Make sure that you know where to send your official transcripts. Find out in advance and make sure to send it to the right time. So don't wait till last minute on that. When you submit the application, right, get your McNair Scholar graduate application fee waiver from each graduate school, right, and also bring copies of your complete applications to the McNair office. So one of the good things about when you submit your application for McNair's is a lot of the graduate programs throughout the country waive the fee for McNair scholars, right, but they're going to require a letter stating that you're a McNair scholar from the university. Make sure you can get that from the office, right? Financial aid, make sure that you fill out your FAFSA. It's very, very important that you fill out your FAFSA, right? Even in graduate school, you still need to fill out the FAFSA. Gather your applications, essay transcripts, and letters of recommendation, and also get the requirements and application procedures for the different financing opportunities. So, other than just FAFSA, right, a lot of graduate programs offer teaching assistantships, research assistantships, and also graduate assistantships, right? And each one works a little different, but at the end of the day, they all come with money, right? So that's another part of your potential financial aid package. But it's very important that you fill out the FAFSA form, right? So let's look at here at a timeline, right? June and July before your senior. So June and July is a time of month, right? You're going into your senior year. This is where you should research the graduate programs, start writing your personal statements, finalize your CV, and start practicing for the GRE. The reason why it's so important to do this in June and July is because by the time school starts, you're not going to have so much free time, because not only are you applying for graduate schools, but right, you're preparing to graduate, and also you have classes still. So make sure you get this done ASAP. August through November, make sure you start ordering your transcripts. You make sure you take the GRE and get the letter of recommendations. From December to January, this is the time where you have already applied or sent in your applications or about to send in your applications. And of course, you start to get your documents ready to apply for financial aid. The McNair office has also done to make the application process a little bit much easier and able to manage is has created worksheets that can help you kind of get your things together for your application. And these worksheets will be found on D2L.